Hello, everybody. As promised, we are here for Talk About It Tuesdays. And today we have Sharon-Rose McNeil, who suggested the topic of perfectionism. I'm sure there's many in this group who will be able to relate to this subject. So Sharon-Rose, what does perfectionism mean to you, and why did you want to talk about it today?
Well, I think I wanted just to be really real. It's I think one of the big things that I struggle with as a lot of people are building out. I'm an entrepreneur.
Yep.
And as I'm building out my business, which is sales coaching, one of the things I think that I struggle with is as a creator, and I know you're a creator as well, is just like not wanting to put things out in the world unless it's like the standard is up here. And I think what happens is we end up holding ourselves back. So I actually had a great conversation. I wear lashes. I'm such a woman, right? And I was at my lash tech, Murray in Sydney here, and we were talking, and she's like, "Okay, like you need to get on, whatever it is, a podcast." And I'm like, "I know, but like I need to get like a podcast editor." And she's like, "No, you don't." And I'm like, "Yes, I do." And I'm like, "Because I don't want anything that's like, attached to my business, which is honor sales. I don't want any of this. I want it to be at a certain caliber." And she's like, "Yes, but people want things that are real and like organic, and nobody really cares anymore." So she's like, some people are just blogging in their living room and like my dog just barked, right? Or the cat's crawling all over them, but we share and it's real. So I'm coming clean and saying, hey, it's like one of like, I think, I'm pretty good at all the business stuff that I'm building, but one of my struggles is on a personal level is just the perfectionism. And I think that perfectionism, I'm really working hard to let go of it, because I think when we hold on to that so tightly, it can really get in our way of sharing our bigger purpose for the world and therefore making an impact, which is what most of us entrepreneurs want to do.
Yeah. And I love, personally, I'm probably not as much of a perfectionist as I should be for being a business owner, because I'm more of a leap and let's just figure it out kind of girl.
Fly, like you'll figure it out as you go. Jump and then we'll figure it out.
Totally. And I'm actually having a lot of fun with it. So, but I'm thinking there's probably got to be a happy medium in there somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, like so when I first started recording these videos, I didn't know how to edit them. So the first two that I put out are like raw, completely unedited. And then I finally thought, okay, I guess I better start doing something and making these look a little more professional. So I actually sat this weekend and taught myself how to edit videos.
Great.
But for me, it's like, I'll figure it out later. I'll just decide what I need. And I don't know. I can't decide if it's good or not. Like if I should be maybe holding myself back more. I don't know. Maybe, like I say, maybe there's got to be this happy medium between being held back so much that you don't put anything out there. And then for me, it's like, maybe you should hold yourself back a little bit more. I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet.
I think you're right. I think it's like defining what we need for each of us, right? And so like I think we all like, I'm really big into intuition, right? So it's like, well, what is tripping me up? So one of the things I do like is a daily meditation practice, and it'll literally come to me through my meditation. I'm sitting there with my candle and I'm like thinking, and then it's like the word something like perfectionism will just manifest up, and I'm like, that's it. But I know this is my problem. Like I know this is what's tripping me up right now. Is this perfectionism is totally getting in my way because I'm not wanting to take the next step because it's not perfect, right? And so I think it's like, but maybe for some people it's something different, right? And so we have to really figure out like, what is it that, where do we need to be? Like maybe we fly by the seat of our pants way too much. And then, in your meditation, for instance, you might be like, okay, well, I need a little bit of structure here. So I need to add a little bit.
Yeah. So do you find that perfectionism is only showing up in your business, or does it kind of run rampant through your whole life?
Oh, no, it's been showing up my whole life for sure. But when you get into business, I think, like it's definitely showed up in my whole life. And then, and like you said, it's like there's a balance. Part of it can be really good because it can drive me to achieve a lot, but then it can also like totally send you down a rabbit hole. So for instance, when I was young, I had an eating disorder, and that was about having a perfect body image, right? Which was a very unhealthy space for me. And so it's like, yeah, so now it's like, it's not so much about perfectionism towards my body, but sometimes we might address it in one aspect of our life, and then it's like boom, 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 it starts like bubbling up a little bit somewhere else, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, I think maybe for me it's perfectionism, but like you said, for somebody else it could manifest as something different as
Right.
well.
Right. So through your meditation and becoming more and more aware of this, are you finding techniques that you're being able to use that's helping you kind of get to a certain point and go, no, now I have to just push myself through, or are you still struggling with figuring out the answer?
Well, I think, one of the things I think is like being like the first step is just like being honest with yourself. And then like, I think it's just good to be honest and just talk about it with other people, right? Like, hey, this is like kind of what I'm struggling with. And then you find, I don't know, it sort of gives you the confidence to like kind of overcome that.
Right.
Because people are like, oh, I totally get you. Like the girl at the lash studio was like, believe me, she's like, I have exactly, I mean, if you go in there, everything's, OCD perfect, right?
Right.
And she's like, I have exactly the same struggle, but I want to encourage you. And so then you walk out and you're like, okay, well, I don't feel so alone anymore, right? Because I found, community and tribe, and there's sort of a support network in that.
Right.
It's like, okay, well, it doesn't have to be perfect, right? And if somebody only wants to work with me because I'm perfect, they probably have the wrong person anyway, because I'm not perfect, right? I'll do the best that I can do, but at the end of the day, that's got to be good enough, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure.
So I think I guess my point would be, it's like setting those structures in place of what you need in order to be successful in your business.
Right.
And so for me, it's like, okay, I'm finding that perfectionism is like tripping me up or holding me back from like taking the next leap.
Yeah.
And yes, that showed up for me in a meditation. And then it's like, okay, well, what am I going to do with it now? So the first step is like to acknowledge it and to be honest with it. And then I'm able to like talk about it with people. And I think the more you talk about it, then it becomes less of an issue, because you're like, oh, well, holy, I'm not the only person that struggles with this, right?
Which is,
and then I think it's just like finding
that's
sorry,
why,
what was that?
That's why I'm happy that we're able to do this kind of thing, right? Is take suggestions from the people in the group about what they want to talk about. So the more that we can put it out there and talk about it, right, the more people realize that they're not the only one, and that there is people that they can reach out to and share with, right?
Yeah, oh, totally. Yeah, and I think, once we know what we need, right, then we can put those structures in place, whether that's people or, maybe for somebody else, it's not perfection. It's like time management, right? They just like totally suck wind with their time, but then it's like acknowledging like, okay, I suck at time management, right? But hey, what can I do about that? So then you find, the support that you need, right?
Yeah,
to like overcome that in your business. So yeah, so for me, it's personal, because it's like, it's one of the things that always trips me up. But yeah, just talking about it, being real about it, and then like I find other people when I talk about it are like, oh, I totally struggle. I hear your pain, and they share, and then you laugh, and suddenly it's a little bit easy to take that next step, because you're like, okay, well, I'm not like the only crazy person out here that's like being totally perfectionistic.
Not even close. I'm sure there's lots of them out there. Oh, I think I might be losing you a little bit here.
Yeah.
Oh, there we go. You're back. Sorry about that. Yeah, I think I had an internet surge or something.
Yeah. No worries.
Yeah. So, sorry, I actually missed a little bit of that. So maybe for the people that are watching, maybe you just quickly say what you were saying previous to that. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, like but yeah, so I'm just saying, like, I guess by being real with my own struggle and finding, by sharing with other people, then you find you're not alone. And then eventually you can actually just kind of like laugh about it. You're like, okay, this is not that crazy. But I think, okay, so what I was saying was, if it starts tripping you up and holding you back from taking the next step in your life, it's probably a problem. Right? So how, like we were saying earlier, how do you know if it's a problem or like you need more of it? Well, if you're not moving the needle of your business forward because perfectionism is getting in the way, it's probably a problem. Right? And the first step is to acknowledge it. Second step, I think, is to find support or find what you need in order to overcome that. And then, having, I guess, a leap of faith or whatever it is to like just start taking baby steps. So for you, just getting on the video or whatever, right? But if you're the type of person you have like, don't deal with perfectionism at all, like then you might, and it's not bubbling up and it's not holding you back, maybe that's not your issue. But for somebody like me, that was totally an issue for me. And so, but it is interesting that it came up in a meditation. Like I literally was doing my meditation and it was just bubbled up like perfectionism. It was like the word. And I was like, this is it. I know exactly where I'm at and like what I need to do. And so, yeah, I'm working on overcoming that. And it's, you know, it's not something that just happens overnight. It's a process, right? We're all on a journey. And so for me, that's part of my journey.
Yeah. But that initial acknowledgement, and then like you say, being honest with yourself that, yeah, okay, this is definitely an issue for me. That's the first step. And that's big for a lot of people, even to be able to get to the point where they can figure out what it is that's holding them back, right?
Exactly. Because I think, and I was talking actually earlier this late, I was coaching a lady this evening on sales, and she was saying that her mindset was just tripping her up. And I said, well, like, what is it about the mindset? And she's like, well, like she's really passionate about what she does. She's in like the healthcare services. And then she's like, well, I tried like all these network marketing and it didn't work and I quit. So I always feel like I quit. And I'm like, okay. And she's like, because I'm a creator and I love to create. And I'm like, that's fantastic. I'm like, so what is it, the vision that you would create for your business? And she's like, oh, I didn't think about it. I'm like, great. And once I'm going to leave you with a thought, but then it's like, well, what do I need to put in place in order to not quit? Right? Because my vision is so big that the plan of action has to be so good that I'm not willing to give up. And I said, I want you to think about what is it that you need to put in place so that you're going to feel okay and that's not going to happen. Right. And so for me, if it's perfectionism or whatever, or like say fear of like getting on stage or whatever it is, I know what I need to set up in my life, whether that's like, say I'm going to go on stage or whatever. I have like an intuitive lady that I work with and we'll do like a meditation before I go on stage. So I think it's about building out what is that support that you need. So if I'm dealing with perfectionism, what is the support that I need? And then so that it doesn't trip me up. Right. And we all have something. That's the whole thing about this, right? It could be perfectionism for me, but something different for somebody else, right? But if it is perfectionism for you, I want you to know you're not alone. That is definitely a big struggle for me.
Yeah, and I think not only just in business, but you know, if you start talking to moms or women in general, I think this is something that society has kind of put on us. Is this
right?
We can do it all. So now, if you're not doing it all, you start to think, "What's wrong with me?" And so you start thinking, "Well, I have to be perfect. I have to be better." And you know, so I think it's a lot of it that just comes into, you know, what's been put on us as well from society, right?
I talk about that like one of the things I talk, it's actually funny that you would say that, because one of the things I talk about on stage is I have a superwoman coat.
Nice.
And I say for years I've struggled with perfectionism, and it's like, okay, I get up in the morning, did I do my meditation? Did I like journal? Did I like drink my green smoothie? Did you know what I mean? And we have all of these things. And I think that's where, if it starts getting in our way, if it's getting in the way of our relationships, if it's getting in the way of our spirituality, it's getting in the way of moving our needle of our business forward, then it could be, or it's an obsession, then it could start to become a problem.
Absolutely. And if you're not allowing yourself to see what you are actually doing, if all you're doing is seeing what you haven't done, then that starts to take away from our self-worth as well, right?
There's an old saying that we spend, I call it the 90 and the 10, and I heard this before. It wasn't not my magical thinking, but we spend 90% of our time thinking about the 10% that we're not good at, or people don't like us, or whatever that is. Let's say perfectionism. We spend 90% of our time thinking about that stupid perfectionism. And instead of just like flipping it, if we only spent 10% of our time thinking about that and 90% actually doing, where would we be? But we tend to focus on that 10% versus the 90%.
Yeah, absolutely. I can totally see that. So if you were to give somebody a piece of advice, what would you like to leave people with after having this conversation? What do you think you could offer somebody who's also struggling with perfectionism?
Well, I mean, I guess I would just leave them with the thought that you're not alone, right? So, you know, if you deal with perfectionism, I just want you to know, like, you're not alone. Like, it's definitely been a huge, like, and it started young for me, right? Like perfectionism about my body. And then, you know, that just spills into like every aspect. But if you know it's an issue for you, like, it's great to know that you're not alone. And and I think just acknowledging that, admitting that, and then figuring out what you need to do to overcome that. And like that is not a sign of weakness at all, right? So if you need that, whatever that support system is for you, finding it out and seeking it and applying that to your life, that is not a weakness. That's actually a sign of strength. So that's what I would encourage you to do, and just know that you're not alone.
Awesome. Yeah, I love it. I heard something the other day, something about we are stronger than me. Right? And I love that saying, and it just reminds us to, like you say, reach out, ask people, if you feel like you're struggling with something, even if it's not perfectionism, anything that you're struggling with, the more that we can reach out, create support systems in our lives, whether it's our friends, our family, or even just somebody in a group like this, where you've seen that they've said something and you reach out to them, you have no idea what kind of support network that you can build for yourself really easily just by putting yourself out there and having those conversations with people. And we're all struggling with a lot of the same things, right? So we can just come together and help each other out. It makes life a lot easier instead of thinking that we are alone or that we're the only one dealing with it. And we don't have to go through things on our own, right? So we can share best practices.
Yeah, and it doesn't, like find your tribe, right? Like, and I always say that with my sales coaching business, like I'm not going to be for everybody. I'm not everybody's sales coach, and that's okay, right? But you find what you need. So what is that support system that you need for you? And then find your tribe, like whatever that is, whatever community is, you find it, and that's cool, right? Because we're not going to be for everybody, right? That's why there's so many different flavors of ice cream. We all don't like vanilla.
Or even ice cream.
Or even ice cream. Although I admit I do like ice cream.
Yeah, no. Luckily for me, it's not one of my things, but Anyways. All right. Well, thank you. Thank you. How did we get on the ice cream? All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with the group. And I'm really glad that you suggested this, because I'm sure that there's more than just a few people that can relate. So I really appreciate that. So, and again,
great. No, happy to share.
And wonderful to finally have a conversation with you face to face. Kind of.
Until we meet for coffee in person.
Exactly. Yeah. So, all right. Well, wonderful. Thank you so much. And anybody out there that would also like to participate and come on camera with me and talk about something that's important to you, put your comments in the comments and we'll set something up. So, all right. Thank you very much. Okay. Bye.
That's good.